Hello, my friends. Welcome. My name is Joe. This is the Joe Martino Show. And today we are going to talk about back to school. My wife comes by as she is now a regular guest, and we talk about anxiety and what do we do when kids don't want to go to school? What do we do when they're at school and they want to come home because they're anxious, they don't like their teacher, etc. And we take a little foray into why we choose to homeschool our youngest, who is also our only son. Let's kick it off. This is the Joe Martino Show. Hey, friends, welcome back. My name is Joe. This is the Joe Martino Show, of course. Today, I am joined by my wife, Erica. She came back last week, and she's going to be in quite a few episodes moving forward. She's going to be a regular guest here on the show. Today, we're going to talk about going back to school. I cannot believe that we are almost to August. When this episode drops, we are going to be at August, I think, 11th. This show's scheduled to drop. And I love fall. I love fall because I get to go sit in a tree and wait for my four-legged friends to show up. Uh, but I hate that summer's almost over. Now, it doesn't affect our lives as much because our three daughters are grown and our son is 13 and he's homeschooled. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about anxiety in school, going back to school. What are ways that you can make the school year the best year possible? If you're a longtime listener, you know that I think grades are a made-up construct. My teacher friends get mad at me when I say that until we're sitting around talking, and then they're like, okay, well, maybe I agree with you. Most of them. I think there's a lot to the school system that we need to change, and that's one of the reasons that we homeschool our son. But today what we want to talk about is something that my wife deals with a lot, and that is the students who they have a lot of anxiety about going to school. They have a lot of anxiety about once they're at school, they want to come home. Maybe they don't like their teacher. Maybe they don't like their classmates. And some of that is the result of we randomly segregate kids based on age without any real research to support that that's a good learning mechanism. I'm going to work really hard not to go off. Whatever you think of him, I hesitate to bring him up because I know people just react to his name. But I'll never forget one of the speeches I heard from Donald Trump in 2015 when he was leading up to his 20. Did he win 2016 or 2020? He won 2016. And he was giving this speech, and like people were going nuts, and they were clapping. And then he says out loud, like he's talking to himself. I'm trying not to get, but he was like, "Oh, Donald, stay on track." And sometimes I hear, "Oh, Joe, stay on track."
I was just about to say, you just can't help but go rogue. We literally said, "What are we going to talk about today?" And you're like, "How grades are up?" I'm like, "Let's just stick to the anxiety day." But you just had to get that in there. And then
Well,
you have to get
I do because I have beef.
Man.
I have beef with schools. I have beef with any system that refuses to have honest conversations about how they do what they do. It's one of the beefs I have with church. I know not all the listeners are religious, but I have offered this. I've offered a free survey to almost 100 churches. No one's taken me up on it. I'll sign whatever paper they need me to sign, that I'll never publish the data, but it would measure what they say they're accomplishing in almost uncontrovertible numbers, and they won't do it. And so I have beef with those institutions. But on that note, let's kick it off and let's talk about. Oh, nope, you have the I want to say something face.
Oh, I do, because you tell your listeners we're going to talk about going back to school anxiety and the feelings with it. And you have spent
my word, we've spent 3 minutes here. Listen,
on your little rant.
Listen, little Miss New to podcasting. All right, I'm on episode like 350 something. All right, I know the flow of this. Let's talk about anxiety. I don't deal with this quite as much, mostly just by the nature of my clients. And in part because I know that I would almost have the Bob Newhart approach to parents like, "Oh, my kid doesn't want to go to school." I don't know, Mary. Maybe you could be a parent and make them go to school would be my response. And they'd probably sue me or report my license or something. But go ahead, run that out. Let's talk about it. You deal with it a lot.
Well, school's like a relationship, right? In the beginning, especially girls. I haven't got to experience a boy in school because like ours is homeschooled, right? But they get up 2 hours early. They make sure their hair is perfect. They got their backpack going, and
That's true
everything
today,
is
too.
perfect. Oh yeah.
Really?
There's a lot of anxiety for that first day of school and how I look. But that only lasts about 4 days. And then now the girls are going in their sweatpants, their sweatshirt.
Okay. Yeah.
Their hair is just thrown up in a little ponytail, and they could care less, right? But as the newness wears off, just like the newness in relationships wear off, they start to like, "I don't want to go to school anymore. I don't want to get up this early. Can I stay home, please, mom, I don't want to go. And then there's some kids and parents who like the parents feel so helpless because the kid just outright refuses to go to school. And it's like, well, what do we do then? And that is what I think we need to discuss is like how what happened, prepare them for the newness, and then what do we do once the newness wears off?
Yeah. So what do you do? Because I'm not kidding when I would be like, okay, well then, like it doesn't matter what they want to do; they've got to do it. There's all sorts of things that I do that I don't want to do.
I think the biggest thing is you have to decide what do they want more than the behavior they're getting. I can't tell you how many parents that come to me, they've thrown their hands in the air because their kid won't go to school. They refuse to go to school. And there's like, there's just nothing I can do. I've tried everything. The truth is, you haven't tried everything. And that's what most parents don't want to hear when they come see me. Because I can guarantee you they're rewarded in some sort of way. A lot of them get to stay home and play video games all day long. A lot of them get to stay home and they'll entertain themselves playing with the chickens
Or
outside
doom scrolling.
or doom scrolling on their phones. And that's not doing everything. Here's what I tell parents, and this is brutal. I'm going to be honest. If your kid is refusing to go to school, then yeah, they can probably sustain day one. They won't sustain more than day one of you taking everything. They don't get to stay and play with technology. You're going to treat them like they're sick. That means you stay in bed all day long. You don't have a TV. You don't have your phone. You don't have your Xbox. You don't get to go outside and play with the chickens or the dog. Like, I'm going to pretend that you're sick because you're refusing to go to school. And then when you're ready to go back to school, let me know and you can have those things back. This is the most important part. A lot of times what parents do is you're not going to go to school today. You're grounded for the next month. So the kid's like, well, why should I go to school then if I'm already grounded for the next month? I'm going to lose all these things. Then I get the next 30 days to be at home. You have to make it a carrot dangling in front of them and say, like, you lose these things today because you're sick and you're choosing to stay home. So you get to be bored. Tomorrow, if you choose to go to school, you can have these things back. And
Right.
that's the part parents don't do. And
That's
that's
the part
the
of
biggest
discipline
game
that
changer.
yes,
It's
yes.
the biggest game changer.
That's the part of parenting that is so many parents when I first tell them that, like, hey, you take it not so that you can take it, and this idea that intensity wins. So I'm going to take it for a month. You're grounded for a month. Okay, so then how do they get it? Like, what's their motivation, right? And especially with like middle school or elementary school kids, they can't second order think yet, right? So they're not like, there's just literally no like, well, I have to go to school because that'll help me when I'm an adult because they're never going to be an adult, right? Like it's just this whole thing. Or when I'm an adult, I'm going to do it my way. And I think the other part of this, though, is what you're describing, taking everything for a day. And then if you go back to school tomorrow, you can have it. It's really hard on parents. The number one pushback I get, well, that's really hard. And it shouldn't be this hard.
Well, I've even had kids, parents are like, yeah, but you don't understand. If I start taking things, little Johnny is going to start destroying my house. Yeah, he might.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't want him to destroy my house. But you know what? Life has consequences. And so if little Johnny decides to start destroying the house, then little Johnny gets to pay to fix the house up and he gets to fix what he breaks. Because
Yes.
life is full of natural consequences. And too many parents get stuck in this power game with
Yes.
their
And I had
kids
someone say,
instead of just
well, he
being
doesn't have a
calm.
job. And I was like, well, yeah, but he gets money from relatives for Christmas, right? And his birthday, right? Take it. Take all that money. Give him chores to do that are above and beyond. Let's be honest, most of them aren't doing chores. But if he's already doing chores, give him chores above and beyond what he's doing that have a dollar value to him. And when he gets his check from Aunt Becky and Uncle Jesse, take the money until he's paid back the damage he caused.
I'm actually going to disagree with you on one part there. Don't take the money. Open up a little account for Johnny. And Johnny actually needs to deposit the money in his account, and then he needs to pay you. Because I had a girl who years ago who was into sexting, and it was costing her parents a lot of attorney fees. And I finally said to them, they're like, all her money she's going to earn coming up is going to come to us. I'm like, no, don't do that. That's stupid. I want you to actually pay her for the work she's going to do. And she needs to give it back to you. They need to see that their bank account changes. That is like adulthood.
Well,
right?
Okay, so I don't think we disagree. I think we're talking about two different age groups, though. The Johnny that I was talking about, he could have a bank account, but it isn't gonna. He's 11. It's not like it's our son has a checking account. That doesn't move his brain. What moves his brain is the spreadsheet that he keeps on his phone. So I don't think we disagree on this one. I actually would agree with you that they need to see it. But like when Aunt Becky and Uncle Jesse give them the check, they see it. Okay, now I'm taking, because usually that's made out to the parents. Okay, so I get it. You don't get to spend it. I don't care how you draw the line from Aunt Becky and Uncle Jesse gave you this money and we're taking it. And then when the girl that you're talking about, I know which one that was. That's the daughter of the one that wants to see me currently, correct?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
I don't think so.
Yeah, the one you're trying to get in. She was older, and so that makes sense. She'll see that and process it. I think that's where you have to kind of think it through for the kid's age appropriateness.
Age appropriateness. And I think it's different how you're right. Like depending on the age, like it could be a spreadsheet, it could be the green light app. We use that with our kids for a while. So the other thing I want to touch on is that parents, hear me out. I used to do this too. It often becomes about control. And the
Yes.
more you sit and argue with them and you have a conversation with them and you engage this, guess what they're getting? They're getting power.
Yes.
They're getting what they want. They get attention from them.
Yes.
If do not
This is the voice of
engage,
experience.
do not engage these conversations with them. It's really simple. If you choose not to go to school today, here's what's going to happen. You can get these things back as soon as tomorrow if you go to school. Now, when they get to school, I work mainly with our Lowell Middle School. And by the way, just a little shout out to them. They are amazing there. And so I don't get to work with a lot of school districts. But one of the things I talk to them about, and we kind of have this agreement I can tell the clients, is, hey, if you get there and you have a problem, don't call mom to go home. Because we have to learn how to do difficult things. Just like you're not going to get to work one day. I mean, you can. Your kid can get to work one day, like, I have a stomach ache and I want to go home. But it's going to eventually cost them their job. So let's teach them, let's get to school. And if you need a break or you need to talk to someone, go see the guidance counselors. Go take a break in one of the break rooms. But the point is they're having to stay there. And that's what is the most important thing, is you're making them stay. You're
Right.
making them do something hard and not just realizing life is about bailing.
And I
Because they
think-
will do that as an adult.
And I think that balance of like, just don't have the conversation. Like we've had it. I've already told you what's going to happen.
Right.
And that, yeah, of course, they're going to bark at you. They're going to try to, bait you into the conversation. But you're an adult. And if you want to teach your child self-control, have the self-control to not actually engage them in a fruitless conversation, right? Don't take the phone call. If you can, if the school will work with you, and I know some schools have decided that they won't do this, but even if they call you and like, oh, I don't feel good, I want to come home, make them stay,
Yes.
right? Be like, no, you have to go back to class. And if the school takes that away for whatever reason, they've created that policy, then okay, you've got to live inside the rules that you have to operate out of. But if the school will allow you to do that, do that.
Well, some of these kids are creative now because like they'll go in the bathroom and like, I threw up. And a lot of the school policies are if you throw up, you have to go
Sure,
home.
absolutely. And that could be the reason that the school won't let them stay. Right. There's a ton of reasons that you could find yourself not being able to say to them, you have to stay. But then if you have to bring them home, then we revert to kind of what you started with was, okay, you're home, you're sick. I get everything.
Mhm. And let's talk about like some of the kids who have things going on in their life that traditional school might not be best for them. And that's another hard conversation. I have told some parents,
Yeah.
maybe it's just time to pull your kid out of school and let them be at home. Our son, for example, he has had a speech impediment and dyslexia that he has
His
dealt
whole
with
life.
his whole life.
Yeah.
I know some people will think we're catering him by letting him do school online, but I know how vicious kids are. Kids are mean. They bully and they will pick on you. The kids I have that have disabilities, they're brutal to them.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to put my kid through that, nor should I expect a parent to make their kid go through that. That will cause mental health issues that we have to talk about, that
Right.
we don't talk
Yeah.
about.
And I just don't care. Like I had a client say to me one time, well, your son, he's just naive or something. He's a late bloomer. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. It again, it's one of my beefs with again, not our local school, but just how we do school period in America. Yeah. And I don't think my son has a disability. I tell people this all the time. ADHD is not a disability. I just told a client that this week.
I mean, dyslexia by definition is a
Dys-
learning
dys-
disability.
dyslexia is absolutely right. But I would argue he has a learning challenge.
Of course you would.
Because words matter. Right. But even, you're talking about control and power. I think parents worry about that. I just had a conversation with a parent as a client and he did something and I was like, well, wait, tell me why you did that. What were you thinking? He's like, well, I was afraid that he was going to walk out of the conversation.
Mhm.
I was like, but he didn't, right? And a lot of what we do is set up for what we're afraid of.
Mhm.
And then we don't actually respond to what is. And I was like, but he stood there. He didn't move. He stood there.
Mhm.
Well, yeah. And you made him sit down to prove you were the boss. And what you did was you just gave up relational equity with no return,
Mhm.
with zero return.
Mhm.
And that's where I think the conversation about like, okay, well, what's best for our kid? Because people are like, oh, you're coddling your kid. Oh, okay, explain that to me. I
Mhm.
didn't know people thought that, to be honest with you, because nobody's ever said it to me. That would be fun if they did. I would enjoy that. So if you think that, call
But
me.
that's the thing with you and difference between you and I is people know you're just gonna lay them out where I'll typically
I'm not going to lay them out. I'm
nod
not going to
and
assault them.
grin.
I'm not
I
going to
didn't
assault
say
them.
you were gonna assault
Lay
them.
them out, people. What does that mean? It means I'm
That
going to
means
assault them.
that with your words, you are going to win an argument.
Well, if they have a good argument, they should be able to win it. That's ridiculous. Then they don't have a very good argument.
But with Joey, we choose to not
Yeah, let's
allow
talk about
him.
that.
The
Why?
risk is
ex-
too high to send him to school and be picked on. He is a very sweet kid. He has great character, and the risk is just too high. And I know even I think our own daughters
and the
disagree with
risk is
our
too high for what?
to send him to school to be picked on, to be bullied, to be tore down all the time. I'm
Okay.
trying to raise a confident adult one day. I don't need
Would you say that's your number one reason for him being homeschooled?
I would say my number one reason for him being homeschooled is his disabilities, yes, and keeping him and helping him teach. Because, okay, well, not the disability, ADHD. The fact that, I mean, this kid used to do homework on our couch on his head, right? I think schools are too long in the day. There's some, no, I know I was just saying, hey, like, make your kid go. But some parents don't have the flexibility, and I get that. And they have to have their kid at school all day long. And then you have to teach them to indoor. Joe and I do not have that. So our kid can do an online school. And I don't agree that kids should be in school 7 to 8 hours a day. I just think it's too long.
Right.
And
Right.
so, because of his challenges, I'd say the reason we homeschool is so we have control over that. We can shorten his days. We can, he is like his father, by the way. So, like, we negotiate a lot on his curriculum. I let him pick some of his classes, even as he's going into eighth grade. But here's the thing with him because we give him parameters in which he can learn. He decided to start learning Italian, which cracks me up. Like yesterday, he woke up quoting
Bene.
Italian words to me. And but I'm okay with that. I want him to take control over his learning, and I want him to do things he enjoys to do. And I can secretly kind of laugh because he reminds me some of his father on.
It's funny because we were talking about words yesterday on the way to the movie. He's like, Dad, do you know what this word means? I'm like, yeah, I know what it means. How do you know what it means? He's like, I can't say what it means. I'm like, I know. How do you know what it means? He's like, I'm learning. It's funny though, because to me, him getting picked on is on the list, but it's not the top three for me on why I want to homeschool him.
That's because you're not a mama.
I fundamentally disagree with how the system works. And I let my girls choose. And I'll be honest with you, I wish I hadn't. And so I'm much less likely to let him choose because I think the system's broken. And I start there, and then I ask myself, and I get it. To your point, not everybody can avoid the system, but if I can, why am I willfully choosing to participate in it? And even with homeschooling people, I don't understand other homeschooling people who tell me like they agree with me that the system's broken, but then they work really hard to recreate the system. And so, like, that is something that catches me off guard. So that's the first reason for me. And then I think the second reason, and so part of that would be the 7 hours. And then the other part of probably the second reason for me would be philosophically, I want to have more conversations with my child about what he's learning in the process of learning it. And then maybe we'd get to him being picked on. Maybe. I probably have a third reason, and then that would be four. You
So
clearly want to say
I
something.
do because I know these things about you. I know that's why you
Yeah.
choose to do it. But it kind of floors me because with the girls, you nearly gave me a heart attack when you had our daughter read Life of Pi in a totally different perspective
Yeah.
than what we were teaching them. And you've been constantly to me with the girls. I felt like at least that they can't just live what we teach. They have to understand the world. They have to learn different things. But I feel
Yeah.
like with Joey, you have been more of I want to craft what he learns.
For the record, I disagree with that last half of that statement.
That you
Because
craft what he learns.
yeah, because he's still he still clearly learns information where he disagrees with me. Right. And like Kendra reading the book of Pi in sixth grade, because I knew she was gonna have to read it in ninth grade, and she's a lot like me. She's gonna question everything. Um, I was just getting out in front of it. And she was bored with the material that she was reading, right? Age-based material, because again, we segregate them based off of a whim, off of what's best for us. So I don't care that he disagrees with me. The philosophy, you're going to be uncomfortable with, or I'm going to go with this, I think, because you're friends with a lot of these people. But the philosophy that I'm uncomfortable with is the fact that the schools won't craft contrary opinions. They tend to peddle one opinion. And I don't care if my son hears 2 opinions or 3 opinions or 4. I don't want him hearing one. I just was talking to you about how a college professor, I watched him peddle one opinion on collectivism and vilify individualism and literally create more red herrings in 30 seconds. Like, it was insane. It was just, oh, people are mad because of this, and then that's an easier thing to burn down. I want my son to understand there can be difference. Right now, he and I are arguing over origins. We're not arguing, but we disagree. And he'll sit there and he'll give me his argument, and I'll give him his, and I can still get the same thing. I don't see it as what I'm doing with him is any different than what we did with the girls.
I mean, all I remember is what I consider one of the funniest conversations in our home when they all decided that you ordered, I didn't even remember the book series, this book series.
The Tuttle Twins.
The Tuttle Twins.
Libertarianism.
Yes, and that you were distributing propaganda in our house. And they all, Joey, the girls were like, oh my word, Dad. And so...
Well, not all the girls, just Kendra. And then the other 2 just go with what Kendra says.
That's most of them, because she's the leader of the pack.
But part of that is, so you talk about evolving, but part of that, I think, is because Kendra went to a public school, and she was taught that libertarianism is far right crap. And so, like, the other day, Joey said to me, so you consider yourself a centrist libertarian, is that right? I was like, yeah, that is right.
How come he knows words I don't know? That's what I want to know.
And so I forget where we were going, but we had a whole conversation in the car about it. The number one thing that homeschooling him does for me, besides it buys me time with him, that sending him to school doesn't, right? And so for us, I can have those conversations. Hey, how are you doing with school? Fine. What does that mean? Well, what do you mean? What does that mean? Right? And so we go through the whole thing. He's got to do it. But I don't care. Kendra, and I will just stick with her. I don't care where they end up. Her and I disagree on things. One of the things that she said when her and I were recording Hiding Behind God was, I believe you raise the adult that you're aiming for. And I believe for us, the best way to do that is to homeschool. If we do that through homeschooling, that's our best mechanism. Not everybody will have that. But for those that don't have it, I know that there's a lot of voices out there of people who agree with me that the system's broken, but they kind of wring their hands and are like, well, what can we do? And there's this whole debate. You don't have to spend a lot of time on TikTok. Who's to blame? The parents or the teachers? The parents go after the teachers go after the parents. We have a teaching crisis, teachers crisis. Teachers are getting out of the field. But
I mean, to be honest, I would too. I wouldn't want to parent half these kids.
Correct. Absolutely.
All day long.
I agree. Like, I wouldn't do it. But then I often say this because I miss coaching. I'd be fired, right? But part of it that we have to figure out is why. And instead of pointing fingers, the parents saying it's the teacher's fault and the teacher saying it's the parents' fault, we have to look at it. And I do believe that a certain ideology has overtaken most educational systems. And it's not left or right. It's the ideology of agree with me or we will kill you verbally, not physically. Nobody's right. But that's insane to me for me to willingly subject my child to that.
I would agree. And we don't do a very good job in schools of letting kids have different opinions. And if you don't agree with the ideology the school is teaching, then you're some sort of racist,
right? You're just
leftist,
a jerk. And the truth is, it's left and right, correct? Like,
correct.
Certainly the private religious schools aren't a whole lot dissimilar to that. Go ahead. I know I cut you off.
But I think like back to our original point of like the anxiety in school is we also have to teach kids that you're going to run into those kind of people your whole life. My daughter just got told off in grad school a few weeks ago. Joe's about to spit out his water over there. Like, it happens. You're going to run into difficult people your whole life. You're going to run into people that don't agree with you. And you have to teach your kids how to manage that anxiety and stress. But the truth is you don't have to. You can do what we choose to do in homeschool too. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's an option for you.
And truly, like, I do think a lot of the things that parents choose to do is because they're afraid of what other people will think. you got to get to the place where you just don't care. Like, do what's right, engage the conversation. Like, it's always interesting to me. I believe that co-sleeping is the best thing you can do, except for a very small segment of society. But I don't care if you disagree with me, and I'm happy to have the conversation. A guy here in our town paid me one of the best compliments that you could pay me a couple weeks ago at the coffee shop. He's like, "You're just a weird guy to me." And I was like, "Oh, well, tell me more." And he said, "You are totally happy just passionately disagreeing with somebody and still being their friend."
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Yeah, because like I absolutely positively love my wife.
Mhm.
I think that you are one of the best people, if not the best person I have ever met. And you can simultaneously drive me crazy and I want to rip out all my hair. It's why I keep it so short.
That's a big dramatic.
And we don't agree on everything. And we will passionately disagree on things. We'll passionately disagree on nuances of the school systems and homeschooling
Mhm.
and what it looks like to appropriately criticize them.
Mhm.
Right? We'll passionately disagree on there's someone local who vocally disagrees with the school. And I think the way it's done is wrong, but I don't think her points are wrong. And I know that if I want to watch you get fired up, I just have to bring that up.
Yes, it's
Right?
very true.
Right.
True.
But we need one of the things we need to bring back cultivating kids to be able to sit in discomfort of disagreement.
Mhm.
Right. One of my favorite illustrations of this, I was watching a debate online and the girl was like, "Well, I don't feel safe right now." There was a girl debating another adult because you're not answering the way you're supposed to my points.
Mhm.
And essentially, he was just disagreeing with her and pointing out the logic fallacies.
Mhm.
And suddenly she doesn't feel safe. And really, what she meant was she had anxiety,
Mhm.
right? Which is fine. She can have anxiety. But the problem is, we're not modeling that as adults either.
I actually think one of the biggest things we're missing too is just how having a conversation about consequences with kids. A lot of these kids, I can't
Right.
tell you how many kids just last year I had who their solution was mom and dad can do whatever they want. I no longer want to go to school. So I'm going to make life hell so I don't have to go to school. And there gets into me, right? And so again, we'll just say little Johnny. I said, little Johnny, I said, oh, okay. So your goal here is that if you make things hard enough for mom and dad, they'll give up and you'll get to stay home. Yes. Okay, let's talk about that. Who's going to be home with you? Um, well, one of them would have to be. Okay, well, for one of them to have to be home with you, they'd have to give up their job, correct? Yep. So let's just make up a number. So now they're giving up $50,000 a year because you're refusing to go to school and somebody has to be home with you. Okay. So mom probably doesn't make that much, right? No. Okay. Oh, so the things you love doing, like going to Michigan adventures and your family vacations, you're in camping, you're okay giving all that up? Well, no. I love doing those things. Oh, well, those things cost money. So let's go back. If you keep refusing to go to school and you're going to make your parents' life miserable until they agree that you can just give up, they give up and you stay home, then that's going to cost something because all of our choices have consequences. And I think parents just give up on explaining that because they don't feel like they should have to. But explain the ricochet effect on how if you make choice A, it's going to lead to choice D and how catastrophic that can be because
Well, I
kids don't
think
have the ability to think that through.
I think this comes back to what Dr. Lehman used to talk about, right? Most people approach life passive aggressively, and then when it goes sideways, they try to use intensity. And certainly that is a lot of parents, right? Because they have to have their time and they have to have their glass of wine and they have to have their wind down time and they have to have their hot bubble bath time and all these things. They can't be inconvenienced, and parenting is an inconvenience. It isn't to me, but it can be, right? Like I think about the time that Kyra walked in our room. We were getting ready for a nap, and she walks in our room and sits down on the bed. I'm like, "Oh, you're sitting down," right? Like she's an adult at this time, but right. But it's hard. But just have the conversation. Teach your kids. Talk to your kids. There was an ancient writer who said to teach your kids these principles. Talk about them when you sit down. Talk about them
Yes.
when you stand up. Talk about them when you walk down the street. Talk about them when you go to the market. Talk about them, talk about them, talk about them, talk about them. And that is one of the biggest benefits to me of homeschooling Joey is I get to talk to him all the time about
Mhm.
what he's learning, what he thinks,
Mhm.
right? Why I disagree with him that Napoleon is not the greatest modern general. It's actually probably would be Ulysses S. Grant, but the greatest ever was
Yes. See,
probably,
I knew that from my dad.
but probably the greatest ever would have been Hannibal.
Mhm.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, find my Facebook. I think it's joemartino.16. And you can watch a video where Joey talks about learning and who he thinks the greatest general is.
but I'm just going to add to I just think teach, teach, teach. And
Yes,
so many
teach.
parents, they'll get frustrated and they're like, because I said so, or because you can't, because they get exhausted with the conversation. But I would encourage you to have the conversations. Don't get exhausted by
Yes.
them. That's how
Get
they
energized
learn.
by it.
Get energized by them.
Yes.
It's not them taking away your power. It's their little brains developing and they want to understand.
And
so
consequences
you do that.
don't teach.
Correct.
They can create a break so that what you're teaching can take effect.
Yes.
But consequences don't teach. If they did, there isn't a fool listening to this show that would speed today. And I guarantee you, the ones that are listening in their car right now, unless they're in traffic, if they look down at the speedometer, they're probably speeding. And they've probably all gotten at least one ticket in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't consequence everything.
Correct.
And so you have, now if you need the consequence to create a break, so be it. And that's what you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, hey, you're not going to go to school. Here's all the consequences of that.
Right.
But the piece that you put in there that is gold, and that is the part that everybody you have to just do this part. You have to teach them. And teaching comes from talking about it. Teaching comes from verbal instruction.
And probably this will be a whole other episode, but I had someone just ask me this week, hey, Erica, did you know more and more kids aren't driving? Yep, I have them in my therapy room. And, well, why do you think that is? Oh, I can tell you why it is. Because we're scaring kids not to drive. We think by giving them all the horrible news that will scare them enough to be a good driver. And that's a whole other podcast. But the point is, like, you got to just talk to your kid, and it doesn't have to be scaring them. It's a conversation. Both life has good and bad consequences.
Yes.
Let's discuss them both.
We may or may not disagree on this. I think that's part of it. But the other part is there is no consequences to them waiting to drive. Because mom's still going to drive them around. Dad's still going to drive them around. True. They don't have to pay car insurance. If they don't get their license, they don't have to pay car insurance. They don't have to pay the gas. They get to be selfish, and mom and dad get to drive them around. Now, I'm not actually bothered by that because I don't think kids should get their license till they're 18. I think giving people a vehicle at 16 is insane. With that said, one of our daughters did it at 16, one did it at 17, and one did it at 18. Mm-hmm. And Joey, I have a feeling, will be at 16.
The point is when they're ready. But you don't to sum up what we're saying. Your anxiety doesn't get to control anyone's life. Anxiety is a feeling. And so what? What does that mean? We all have it. We've all experienced it. You still have to do hard things, even when you're anxious.
And I think also parenting is hard. And if you don't like a behavior in your kids, this is the part where I lose parents. If you don't like a behavior in your kids, such as they disengage when it's hard, so they want to leave school or they don't want to go to school, you have to look at how you live your life and how you parent them. Mm-hmm. Right? I say this all the time. I don't understand the people our age who complain about bridezillas, because who raised that generation? Mm-hmm. We did. Mm-hmm. I don't understand people our age who complain about their kids' work ethic, because who raised those kids? We did. Mm-hmm. Right? So if you're bothered by your children's behavior when they're anxious, when they're distressed, start with yourself. Ask yourself, what do you do? Mm-hmm. And then make your behaviors, if needed, change to match what you want them to do. Mm-hmm. And then look at how you're parenting them, because you train them for what they can and can't get away with.
I can't, that was just gold right there.
Yeah.
I can't disagree with that.
Yeah.
See, sometimes you say really good things.
I just want to point out you're a guest here.
Hey.
All right. Any closing thoughts for our friends?
Endure. Parenting is hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
But don't focus on the hard.
But don't whine about it.
Right. Enjoy those moments.
Don't whine about it.
You're raising. One of the things that helped me get through hard times is realizing, like, I want that in the adult. I just don't want it pointed towards mom right now.
Right.
So realizing this is a long-term game, and you're in it for the long haul. Don't let mental health rule your kids' lives. I'm saying this as a mental health therapist. I get tired of all the, but I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm this. No.
Don't identify as your diagnosis.
Correct. Don't identify as your diagnosis.
Yes.
Don't use this as an excuse for poor behavior. Teach your kids how to persevere and endure. And that's going to be the best skills to them through with life.
Yes. I think the other thing that I think about a lot is I was thinking about you when Joey and I went to the sprint car race. We went down and talked to the drivers. Mm-hmm. And my family makes fun of me for this. But when I see dads with young kids, I always tell them, just enjoy it, because it goes fast, right? This guy's holding a baby. He's getting ready to race. Actually, it was the guy that won. And because of this, I wanted him to win because he was holding a small baby. And I said, hey, how old is she? And he's like 9 months. And I was like, man, just soak up every minute. My oldest is 24 and married now. He's like, yeah, it goes so fast. I was like, yep. And that's the thing I try to remind parents. Yeah, it is hard. But what in life that you do that is worth doing isn't hard. I love being married to you, and it is really hard sometimes. There are other times. Are you going to say it's not hard being married to me?
It's peaches and cream all the time.
Dear Lord, if you send lightning, wait till she's out of the building I'm in. Right? What in life do you do that is worth doing that isn't hard? Nothing. So, yeah, parenting's hard, but instead of whining about it, embrace it.
Can I just come to the girls' defense here? They do make fun of you for that kind of stuff.
They do make fun of me. I know.
Because they feel like you portray yourself as this tough guy, and you're very much a softie who you're grieving your girls moving forward.
I've said that on this show.
Yeah.
I'm grieving it.
And
Like, good,
so,
you grieve good things.
yeah,
I'm going to start crying right now.
They watch you grieve, and they think it's cute. So
Yeah,
I just
they
throw
can
that
pick
out
on me.
there.
My wife makes fun of me, too. So
Oh,
you
no.
literally made fun of me on the way here this morning.
No.
All right. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this show, please share it with your friends. Slap it up on your socials. Can't tell you how much that will help us accomplish what we're trying to do here, which is get the word out to people. All right. Thanks so much for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please share with a friend. And hey, give us that rating in your podcast store. Until next time, change possible.